Salutations readers, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Nkechi, and for today I will be reviewing A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. A Drop of Corruption is the sequel to The Tainted Cup that came out last year. This book here came out April 1st, 2025. I did get an arc from Del Rey, so thanks to Del Rey for an e-arc in exchange of an honest review. And let me just be completely honest, y'all, I did not enjoy my time reading this book. I'm actually very, very much disappointed, and I do not think that I will be continue reading this series or reading anything from Robert Jackson Bennett in the future either. This will be a spoiler-free review. I do have a lot of strong feelings, and I think I can actually explain all these thoughts and feelings in a spoiler-free setting. I don't want to get quite into spoilers because that will just make this video very long, and I don't want to linger on this book for too long because I really did not like my time here. So I'm not really going to talk about the synopsis, honestly, because it is a sequel to The Tainted Cup, but I will say, though, you do gotta read The Tainted Cup before you read A Drop of Corruption. Don't just skip around here. I know it's a mystery series, but it is still also a fantasy series. If you want to understand the world, which a lot of the mystery stuff is because of helps with the world building, definitely read The Tainted Cup and then read A Drop of Corruption, but I don't even recommend reading A Drop of Corruption anyway, so here we are. So again, I'm not going to get into the synopsis. If you want to know what the synopsis is, you just gotta look it up. This book really disappointed me. Not just as a sequel, but even as a mystery book, because I thought the mystery plot was actually pretty convoluted. And since this is a sequel, and it's trying to expand the world and get more into the politics as well of the world, and then we have this mystery stuff going on, I think it's not that it was doing too much, it was just that the pacing of the mystery was a lot, and I don't think it needed to be that way. Especially for what this book was trying to say thematically. The mystery was just doing too much. Like, we did start off this book with like the whole disappearance of this treasury officer. And then once Den gets in the scene and does the interviews and stuff, Anna quickly says that this is not really much about disappearing officer. This is the fact that this is a murder. Like, he was murdered. So we need to figure out who the murderer is. And she actually finds this out pretty quickly. Well, I don't say quickly. Quick is a relevant sort of term here, but she does find out who the culprit is. Well, not even find out. I'm sorry, word choices. She figures out who the culprit is, the murderer of the treasury officer and all that, nearly halfway through the book, which I think does make it feel like then the rest of the book just kind of like fell a little bit flat. I mean, it was already slow in the beginning, to be quite honest, because we're trying to learn about what's actually going on here and all that stuff. And also we get new sets of characters. Like, the characters we're following, for like the side characters, I mean, because we still have Din and Anna from like the Tainted Cup and stuff, but the characters that you're familiar with in the Tainted Cup, besides Din and Anna, are not here in A Drop of Corruption. So you have a whole new cast of side characters to follow. I did like one of them though, named Mallow. She is an Apoth Warren, so I found her to be interesting. But everyone else that's a side character, I don't find them to be interesting. They're not interesting characters, and I don't know if Robert Jackson Bennett just doesn't care to really expand upon their characters, but he definitely didn't make them interesting or much in nuance or give them nuance or depth or anything. So that's definitely something I do not like about, and honestly, he doesn't put much character development in the main characters anyway, so it makes sense that the side characters were pretty one note, so I shouldn't even be surprised. So then when Anna figures out who the culprit is and having her evidence and all that stuff, then it's just a matter of catching the murderer and seeing where he's going and all that, which, to be honest, I think that's the part that really slowed it down for me, because I was like, okay, now we know who it is, but now we've got to figure out how we're going to catch this person, and always outsmarting Anna and then doing all these things. It's like, okay, sure, I guess I'm here along with the ride, I guess. But I really did not think that the whole way that Robert Jackson Bennett paced reveals and all the things, especially with the reveal of the culprit and that culprit being actually true, like anytime Anna says something that's actually a truth, like, there's nothing that she could say that's actually wrong, which I think makes her character even more irritating to me now, because like, there's brilliance and then you're just all-knowing. Like, whatever you're saying, your revelations are always right. Like, she's not wrong. Anna is never wrong about her reveals. She's always right, which, sure, you could say that makes her brilliant, but also it makes her too perfect. I mean, sure, she's so very eccentric and all, And she has very much really weird quirks, but I don't find her as an interesting character if she's not able to, if we're not willing to show that she is capable of being wrong. Like, what does that look like? And how would that affect the investigation? I think that would have been way more interesting if she had an idea on who it was, but then she was wrong and she had to pivot. It's like, oh shoot, I was going the completely wrong direction. I think that would have been way more interesting than what we got here. Because truly, when she figured out who it was truly who that was. Like, she wasn't wrong. And I'm just like, really? Okay, I guess. And then when we actually get to like the final review at the very end, where the culprit is and how he done it and all that stuff, then we've learned about his motivation. And I had to say that was the most bullshit kind of explanation for a reason why someone is doing all of this for a book that's over 450 pages. Like, I read 450 plus pages for a murderer to be doing something that I think is completely stupid. It's so stupid. And it has to go with the fact of, and this is for the fact that, especially in the freaking author's note, because yes, there is an author's note in this book. It has to be for the fact that Robert Jackson Bennett wanted to write a fantasy book with an autocracy that wanted to show that they're benevolent, but also like the fact that autocrats are not good, which I'm like, right, sure. Having one person in charge of everything is not a good thing politically, and how that affects other people, sure. But how is that any different than the actual empire that Anna and Din serve that's ruled with imperialism and colonialism? How is that any different than an autocratic colony that they're trying to annex, by the way? Like, that's what happens in the book. Like, there's a colony here that they're trying to annex to the empire. Like, how is that any different than, like, the empire that Anna and Din serve? Maybe that's the point, maybe? And all that, but I just think it just felt so hollow. Like, what is it trying to say? Like, what he's trying to say is so freaking hollow. What the murderer said was so hollow. The author's note made even more hollow. And it just made me realize, and it made me really realize that whatever Robert Jackson Bennett's trying to explore in this series is so not for me. It made me so mad. And I can't even be here for much on the world because that whole bit, as far as autocracy's bit, made me so mad. I don't even think there's anything for me to wonder about or explore in book 3. I don't even care. And in the characters, like I said, they're flat and dull. So there's not much for me to be invested in character-wise either. Like, I'm not a plot-driven reader. I'm not even a character-driven reader either. I'm curious and intrigued by plots and characters, and I prefer to be intrigued by both at the same time. I love stories that are well balanced in the plot and characters. Whether it's a story that wants to focus more on plot, fine. But your characters cannot be freaking dull and one note and static. I need them to be interesting. They have to be interesting. And your plot's gotta be interesting too. We can't just sacrifice one or the other now. It's just that this book here just made me realize on how hollow this world is. As intricate and detailed as Robert Jackson Bennett was when describing the world and how it works in regards to this mystery shit, I have to say that it is so freaking dull in what he's trying to say. And I love to read fantasy books, just speculative fiction in general, that wants to say something about our world using a secondary world. And right now, what Robert Jackson Bennett wrote in here was so freaking dull and uninteresting that I cannot full-heartedly even continue on with this series or read anything he's even written either, because the writing style here was so irritating to me. Like, I needed the audiobook to get me through this book. There was no way I was going to be reading my e-arc without the audiobook, barring from like Spotify audiobook listening hours. I had to listen to the audiobook. There was just no other way for me to do it. The writing style was so repetitive and dry and dull and made me feel unhappy. Now granted, this story is in the perspective of Din and is in first person, so since he's already dissatisfied with just being an investigator, it also, I guess, put that in the, you get that from the writing, but also, though, it was so repetitive. I'm just like, we don't need to repeat this thing that we just said. Like, we just said this. Like, I still remember when we got here and there. Like, it was only a year in between these books. I still remember. Granted, though, not for everyone, and probably will not, but, like, even for just, like, what we find out within the book itself, I still remember. Like, I annotated this book, okay? You see this note? You see all these tabs? I annotated a lot here. Just like I did with the Tainted Cup. I annotated this, and I annotated these. I annotated both these books, so I was paying attention. Trying to keep note of everything to the best of my abilities. So maybe I remembered more than the average reader, but still. All right, salutations, y'all. I want to come in here through editing because for some reason, I guess I completely forgot to, I definitely forgot to mention it somehow, but I want to make note as well, something about the writing of A Drop of Corruption is that Robert Jexit Bennett uses the word queerly, or even the word queer as an adjective, and I've noticed that every single time he's used that word, especially queerly, which is very much an odd word to me to use, that uses it as a way to describe something or someone's behavior as something unnatural, strange, weird, and I really do not like on how he used that word. Like, dude, seriously? Like, he's used it like 8 times here. So I took a majority of the tabs here, but the only tabs I have on here is the instances of which when he uses the word queerly or queer as an adjective. And I have about 8 times that he's done that. And for some reason, I've also made note of that even in the Tainted Cup here. I had to put in a note here because I guess I didn't put a tab, but I did make note of how many times he's used the word queer or even queerly as an adjective as well, and he also used it about 8 times, like from the very beginning of the book all the way to like almost the end of the Tainted Cup here. Same thing also with even A Drop of Corruption. Somewhere in the beginning, a little bit in the middle, even a lot bit more towards the end. It was just very, very weird. And that's also another thing too that made me go, okay, I'm not going to be reading any more from him because not only has he done it within this particular series, but I actually found out from a Bookish Mutual who was reading his Founders trilogy, in the first 2 books actually, he also used the word queerly as well quite often. So I'm like, oh, so you don't just use it in this series, you use it in the previous series. So I'm like, okay, I think we need to be done here. So I just want to come in to say that because for some reason I completely forgot to say that originally, but that's all I have to say. So back to the original video. And even then though, I have to say, I felt like I was annotating even less because there was not much for me to really think about. I didn't feel like I had to really figure out what was going to happen in the mystery. Like the Tainted Cup, I felt like I was trying to figure out, okay, who could it be? Is it this? Is it that? No, this person could be a red herring, this and that. Like, I felt like my brain likes to do with murder mysteries. This, on the other hand, did not feel that way. And I think we lost that essence of this being like a pretty solid mystery series. And it's trying to be a little bit more, leaning more towards fantasy. But the fantasy aspects are not working for me, especially thematically. And I really hate the author's note. I really did not like it. I have to say, I'm just really disappointed with this. Writing, plot, characters, themes. I was just not having a great time. I was being optimistic though, because I don't think it's completely bad, but it really was dull and static and just not good. So this book is getting most likely a 2-star. I was thinking maybe 2.75 because I was like, well, maybe it's less than 3. And I thought more about the themes. I was like, okay, 2.5. And I was like, wait, let's think about the writing style and the themes and the lack of character work and then the plot. And I was like, oh no, this is all going down to a 2. And it's definitely staying as a 2 because I actually, in my arc, it doesn't have the dedication. It has space for where the dedication would go in my e-arc on my Kindle, but it doesn't actually have the dedication. But I want to show y'all what the dedication actually says in this book that made me go, what the fuck is going on here? And especially since I only got to see the dedication when I was about halfway through the book because that's when I got a physical copy. It was almost nearly around halfway through. So tell me why this book is dedicated to the Spaniards. Okay, there's also some content warnings. If any of y'all want to know about content warnings, they're there too. But tell me, what is up with this? Like, does anyone even know how to say this part here in Spanish? I had to go to Google Translate for this because I did not know what any of the stuff mean. But like, what do you mean to the Spaniards? Why is this book dedicated to the Spaniards? Make it make sense to me. The Tainted Cup was dedicated to, who was it? Was it his grandmother? Who was it? Yeah, for my mom and Nana. You were the gateway to murder mysteries. And yes, this book here felt like it was a mirror mystery romp in a fantasy world. Yes, so explain to me why this book is dedicated to the Spaniards. Why? You know what I mean? Especially Spaniards. I was like, especially when you say Spaniards, I'm thinking like colonizer. That's just where my brain went. I was like, Spaniards, colonizer. So not helpful here. So yeah, that's a flag somewhere. But yeah, A Drop of Corruption, that book there, not for me. And I'm so done with this series, which is very unfortunate because I was so excited for A Drop of Corruption to read the sequel and continue with the series. I don't know how long the series is supposed to be. I still think it might be a trilogy, but it's very plausible that it could just be longer. But if this is going to be, I mean, whatever. If it's a trilogy, If it's more than that, like 4 books, 5 books, I don't even care. You know why? Because I'm not reading this. I'm done. After these 2 books, I am so done with this series. I'm done with this world. I'm done with Robert Jackson Bennett. And this is why I think, and also I'm also pretty much done with like white man fantasy. My gosh. This book here, no more white man fantasy for me for a good long minute, okay? Because weird stuff. But yeah, all in all, this book is 2 stars. I don't recommend this book. If you were a fan of The Tainted Cup, and then now you're reading A Drop of Corruption, honestly, you probably will still enjoy A Drop of Corruption more than I did. Because I really am in the minority. And trust me, I've checked. I have checked reviews on Goodreads and on NetGalley for my ARC review of A Drop of Corruption as far as my thoughts on this book. I really am in the minority. There's a lot of people who have loved this sequel, who've really enjoyed it, or maybe who've liked it. Maybe it's like, now let's go to the first book and the sequel is a little bit of a downer. For me, I'm done. I'm just done. I'm giving it 2 stars. And unfortunately, I am in the minority as far as that opinion. So please do take this as a grain of salt here. My review just needs to be taken with a grain of salt. If you made it this far in the video, thank you though for watching. Let me know in the comments, have you read A Drop of Corruption? If you have, please let me know your thoughts. It doesn't matter if you've loved it. You can say you loved it and enjoyed it. You can let me know. But if you did not though, if you read this book and you didn't enjoy it, hit me up. See, please tell me why in the video and the comments down below, please. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. And if you're new here, you like my vibe and stuff, you know, like the video, maybe subscribe if you're interested. And if you made it this far into the video, you're not sure what to say, but you want to leave me an emoji to let me know you're here, maybe leave me some sort of like a hand along with like a tree or plant-like emoji, and I don't know if like the cover, because I really do love the covers of this series. But anyways, thank you all again for coming onto this video, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye.